All right, well, welcome everyone to our client call here today. It is May 27th of 2020, and we are in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. And we are, I'm really happy, I'm really grateful as always to be on this call with each of you. And thank you so much to those of you who have joined our calls week in and week out. And have used this opportunity to connect and stay connected, even while so much of the world is feeling isolated during this shelter-in-place and lockdown caused by the spread of the coronavirus. It is 10:01 a.m. It is May 27th. And this is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And this is our 10th, and it is actually our final. It is our last of these weekly calls that we have had during this shelter-in-place order and during this lockdown. It is our last of these calls because next week our office is going to be reopening for in-office services, and so we will not be doing these calls anymore. But these calls have meant something to me, and so I'm very grateful for each of you who have been on these calls week in and week out, and I really hope that they have been helpful or meaningful to you. As always, this morning I'm going to do a quick update regarding the coronavirus. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about immigration, and then I'm going to shift gears and share a little bit of my own personal philosophy, and specifically this week we're going to be talking about, okay, what is the post-pandemic, what does the post-lockdown after this is all done look like, and how can we move forward together, all right? And really, how can we move forward in a way that's gonna help our lives achieve what we want for ourselves? And so let's get into it. So, and as always, I have my English call here at 10 a.m. We'll have our Spanish call at 10:30 a.m. And so yeah, we'll get right to it. So as far as the coronavirus, now according to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, as far as statistics from yesterday, there were 1,662,414 total cases of COVID-19 since the beginning of this, since the beginning of the year and since the beginning of this pandemic. There have been 98,261 total deaths throughout the United States caused by the disease COVID-19. And so our heart, as always, goes out to the people who either have suffered or are or continue to suffer from the actual infection of and the actual disease itself of COVID-19. All right, so our hearts go out to those people and their families. I also do like to point out a little bit of good news every week. And the good news that I have to point to this week is that the spread of the virus is slowing, all right? And places are starting to reopen. And as businesses and as the local economies start to reopen, we are doing it, I believe, in a smart and intelligent way, and maintaining our social distance and wearing masks and things like that to reopen intelligently so as to not spread the germs and the virus. All right. So that's all I'm going to say about the coronavirus. As far as our immigration update, so immigration court is still closed, and it is closed through Friday, June 12th. All right? And so Friday, June 12th is just 2 weeks away. all right? And so, it will be reopening after Friday, June 12th. If you have a hearing in immigration court before that date, watch your mailbox. You will be getting a hearing notice and a notice that your hearing is canceled. You do not need to go to court if it is before Friday, June 12th. But if it is after that, all right, if it's after the 12th, then you will need to expect to go to your immigration court hearing. And so our office is preparing clients for their trials and preparing clients for their hearings that are going to be happening after Friday, June 12th. And so, please be in touch with your legal team if you have an upcoming hearing at the end of June or in early July so that we can start preparing that. And for those cases that are right after June 12th, we are already preparing those, all right? And what exactly is that going to look like? We are waiting for the Executive Office of Immigration Review, we call it EOIR, which is the Immigration Court Agency. We are waiting for further guidance from them as far as the timing of those hearings, as far as mask requirements for those hearings, how to maintain social distance even in the courtroom. And so we are waiting for guidance on them. It has not been released yet, and as soon as that is released, we'll be adding it to our free guide for immigrants, the Guide to Thrive During the COVID-19 Pandemic, and we'll be explaining that in video and also to our clients who are preparing for those hearings. All right, if someone is detained cases have been and continue to be moving forward, all right? And so if you know somebody who's detained by immigration, please have them contact a lawyer. I've been saying that every week because ICE is still deporting people even during this time. They have continued to deport people even during this time. All right. USCIS offices are closed through June 3rd, all right, which is like next week. All right, and so USCIS is planning on reopening for in-person services as soon as next week. And we don't exactly know what that's going to look like either because there's not a lot of guidance published on it. But in-person interviews, I guess expect long lines and expect to be socially distanced and expect to wear masks and things as we go into the USCIS building. But in-person interviews and services are expected to go forward starting June 3rd. All right? The shelter-in-place order, which is here in the Bay Area, was extended through the end of May, but that is ending, right? It is May 27th, everybody, so the shelter-in-place order is lifting right now, and more businesses are in service. And even coming into the office today, we drove in and, traffic is picking back up here in the Bay Area. And so just be aware of that. And so, yeah, be aware of that. Here in our office, I was meeting with my team here earlier this morning, and we are putting in place all of our plans for how we're going to be reopened. All right, so we are going to be offering free masks for any client, any immigrant client that comes in to meet with us. We are going to be asking that everyone wear those masks you can bring your own mask too. That's actually preferred because we will have limited supply. But we'll be asking everyone to wear masks when they're meeting with us. We're also going to be changing the way our reception area looks so that we limit people's contact with others. And so please be patient if you're looking for an appointment with our office. It may take us a little bit of time to get ourselves organized as far as what we need to do to make sure that each of our clients are safe, to make sure that we're doing our part also to limit the spread of any germs. And I know that other businesses around the Bay are doing similar things also. All right? So, awesome. So, all right, that's basically all I wanted to say as far as the kind of updates stuff. I have a small announcement that I want to share for people, and that is that yes, we're going to be stopping these calls, these client calls, but these calls have inspired me. All right, and they have inspired me, and those who have shared on these calls have inspired me as well. And Christy, who's on this call, who's our marketing assistant. Christy, thank you so much for everything that you've done during this pandemic. And thank you to all of our clients, especially those who have tuned in to these calls week in and week out. Because starting next week, if we can do it, or certainly within the next 2 weeks, we're going to be launching a podcast from our firm. And we're going to be calling it the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. All right? And so part of it is going to be sharing some of this philosophy type stuff on life that we've been doing. And some of it is going to just, quite frankly, be interviewing you. Be interviewing our clients, be interviewing immigrants who are like, you know, making it happen. And we're keeping our economy going and, you know, who are contributing to people. And I want to help document what people go through, all right, to immigrate to the United States, and what people go through in their legal cases, all right, because this whole thing is a challenge, all right, and it is the strongest, it is the most courageous, it takes a serious amount of courage to face a legal problem, and to face it with grace, and to face it with determination, and to face it with intelligence, all right? And so I really want to document that for people and let the world and let the rest of the world see what immigrants really are facing out there and how powerful immigrants truly are. And that's been always the inspiration for me and why I love doing what I do as an immigration lawyer. But now I'm excited to be launching, we're going to call it again, the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. And so my goal is to be able to produce content like this that people can listen to it on their own time. It's not a call where everybody calls in, right? But it'll be interviews, and it'll be video content, and it'll be hopefully some inspiration to get us all through not just this crazy time, but through this crazy life that we're all sharing here on planet Earth as it's revolving and continuing to revolve around the sun. All right, so I wanted to share that with everyone. All right, so moving forward, and you know, the topic for today is how do we move forward post-pandemic, and how do we move forward post the shelter in place? And so I want to ask you, right? I want to ask you, and I want you to think about it also, like, how has your life changed during this time, right? You know, for some of us it might be very little. For some of us it's probably more than what we've given ourselves credit for, right? And like, how has our lives changed during just these past 8 weeks? And what I recommend that we all do is that we all take some time out of our day today, and I recommend writing it down. All right? I don't know if you've kept a journal before. I keep a journal that is hit and miss. I'm not super disciplined about doing it every single day. I write in a journal when I am inspired to write in a journal. All right? But I do have it. All right, and it does go back years, and I like adding to it, and I've been adding to it quite a lot during this time because it's such an irregular time. But here's my challenge to you. I really recommend writing something down today and really answering the question, how has your life changed during this time? And what I'd like you to focus on is I'd like you to focus on some things that are positive and some things that are negative that have happened during this time to give a complete picture, right? Life isn't all positive, right? Life is both positive and negative. Life is both challenge, difficulty, and opportunity, right? Life is yin and yang, all right? And so we have to be aware of the positive and the good and the negative and the bad, right? And put it all out there, right? How has our lives changed? When I look at that and when I focus on the positive, for example, for many reasons I am grateful for this pandemic, all right? It's given me an opportunity to reconsider a lot of things. Reconsider how we're doing things in the office, right? Reconsider how I'm doing things in my personal life. I've learned that we, as people, can adapt, right? Our community has adapted very quickly. We can learn new ways to organize ourselves and new ways to enter grocery stores and banks and things like that, right? I believe, ultimately, like talking about where we're going, I believe that this pandemic is going to serve like 50 years in the future. We're going to look back on this time, and I think it will be the catalyst. I think it will be the thing that pushes us into the 21st century. All right? And I think it's going to push us towards self-driving car technologies. I think it's going to push us towards more efficiency, fast and smart uses of technology. I think it's going to push us to more efficiently use our space. I think it's going to have us, for example, enable us to work a lot more from home wherever possible. All right? I think like as a human species, I think that this challenge, right, just like every challenge our species faces, I think it's going to push us through to discover the next stage of human development. All right? And I'm grateful for that. For me, on a personal level, I'm grateful. During this time, I've had several long, good conversations with my grandmother. All right? My grandmother is 96. She is approaching the end of her life, all right? And she's been socially isolated and apart from others during this time. And so one of the things that I've done is I've called her and like had conversations with her, right? And I have told her that I love her, right? And I didn't need to like drive all the way to where she lives, which is in 3 states away, 1,000 miles away. It's difficult for me to go and like actually see her in person. And I wouldn't have taken the time to really have these conversations with my grandma had it not been for this pandemic. And so for that, I'm very grateful. All right? She just yesterday, was it yesterday? It was 2 days ago, sorry. On Monday, on Memorial Day, she was like sharing with me some stories from what she went through during the Great Depression. And it's like, that's priceless, right? I wouldn't have ever heard some of the things that she had gone through if it hadn't been for this time, right? All right, another thing that I've done that I'm grateful for personally is just on Memorial Day this past weekend, I had a backyard barbecue. All right, I had a backyard barbecue. I was the chef. I'm learning to barbecue better. All right, so I had a backyard barbecue with our neighbors that we invited over to the backyard, all socially distanced, all right? All, keeping ourselves, they had their plates, we had our plates, and I would serve them fresh off the grill and then onto their plate, and then they would come and get it, right? And so a socially distanced backyard barbecue with our neighbors, but it's like I wouldn't have done that had it not been for this pandemic, all right? And so why am I saying all of this? As I encourage each of us to write things down about how their lives have changed, I encourage each of us to focus on the positive and to focus on, hey, there are things that we can all be excited about what the future is going to bring for us. And there are things that we can all be grateful for about what this pandemic has actually meant for us. All right? And then, we also want to take in the negative. All right? And we want to take in the negative to be mindful of it, not to be afraid of it. All right? So let me share some of the negative things that I am concerned about right now during this time. All right? One of the things that I'm concerned about for the future is that right now I think that, you know, if anybody sneezes around us, now we all start to get nervous. All right? We start to distance ourselves even more than the 6 feet that's required, right? Even if somebody even just has symptoms of a common cold. And it's like, okay, until how long into the future will we all start to be nervous on some level about other people and their health? All right? And like one thing that's negative, that's concerning to me, is like how long into the future are we going to view other people, strangers, as potential threats to our own personal safety, all right? And what I want to do is I want to combat against that kind of negative trend that I see is going to be happening. And I encourage everyone that's on this call to try to fight against that negative trend also. And what that would look like is, okay, if you see somebody sneeze, go out of your way to, I mean, sure, maintain your distance, right? We don't want to spread germs, but go out of your way to say or even shout, you know, hey, bless you, right? In a positive way, right? Go out of your way. Like I've been jogging every morning, and on the jog I often wave now to every single person I pass, right? And many others are doing the same too. Like find a way to connect with people, because we don't want to view other human beings as potential threats to our safety. We want to view other human beings as other human beings, right? We are like all going through a crazy time together, all right? And so I just really wanted to say that. Another thing that I am concerned about is our mental health, all right? And so, you know, as we isolate ourselves from others more and more, and as we go deeper into communicating with others through technology, I do think that we miss some of the good stuff that is human interaction. And so I encourage everybody that's on this call to find a way to contribute to others and find a way to build community wherever we can. All right? And so that's really it. I wanted to share positive, I wanted to share negative, and I encourage that each of us write things down. All right? You know, life will move on. All right? And it's going to be weird, and it's going to be a rocky transition, and this virus is still out there, and it's still spreading, all right, even though the spread is slowing, right? But it is still out there, it is still spreading, and my guess is that we'll all need to lock down occasionally if things start to spike up again, all right? But life is going to move forward, and I encourage everyone that's on this call to find a way to have your life move forward, all right? But before doing that, let's get some clarity on where we're at right now, and let's get some clarity on what our concerns are and what we're grateful for this pandemic, all right? In the words of Robert Frost, the poet, he says, in 3 words, I can sum up everything that I've learned about life. You ready for the 3 words that he's summed up about everything that he's learned about life? Here they are. It goes on. Life will go on. All right? Life goes on. And so what will you do? All right? What things do you want to do differently post-COVID-19 pandemic? All right? What things are you going to do to be a better leader, or a better lawyer in my case, or a better father, or a better husband, or a better contribution to your family and to your friends and to your loved ones? All right? My hope for each of us is that we find a way to take part in the solution. You know, we look at the good, we look at the bad, and we find a way to contribute to the good. All right? Make connections with strangers instead of furthering the isolation and disconnection. and take an opportunity and take a moment to think about what do we want for our lives that are going to move our lives in the direction that we want them to move for the future, and let's do it. All right? So that's all I wanted to say. I really appreciate everyone joining this call. I want to open it up for Q&A. We've got 5 minutes left because it is 10:25. To ask a question, please hit *6 on your phone. Please hit *6 on your phone. And you know, if you don't have a question, that's fine. Hit *6 anyway, and tell me one thing that you've gotten for yourself during this time. What's one thing that you're grateful for this pandemic? All right? And so yeah, *6, everybody. Christy, do we have any questions?
Not, Otis.
All right. So, okay, well, we don't have to ask questions. If you do have one, hit *6 again. In the meantime, you know, for our clients, please join our Facebook group. As I've been saying, we want to build our community. Everyone, please know that I am so grateful for each of you to have come in and joined these calls week in and week out during this pandemic. I'm so grateful to have each of you in my life, and I really encourage each of you to find something that's in your life that you can turn this time into something very, very positive. Turn this time into an opportunity that's going to move your life forward. All right? And thank you all so very, very much for joining me. Again, this is our last of our weekly client calls. All right? But it has been the inspiration for me to start a new podcast for immigrants, so please keep a lookout for that, the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. And again, I am so grateful for each of you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Please make it a good one. And yeah, best of luck going forward. And as things reopen, stay safe, stay connected, and find a way to contribute to others. All right? Thank you so much. This is Otis Landerholm, Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream. All right? Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.